Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to be exploring the world of sales and really trying to understand the psychology behind it all. So we're going to be taking Brian Tracy's book, The Psychology of Selling, and kind of dissecting it, pulling out the most valuable insights. I'm excited to get into this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. You know what I found really interesting right off the bat? It's Tracy's own journey. He didn't just appear one day as a sales guru. He really had this kind of meandering path. I mean, traveling the world, working odd jobs before he kind of stumbled into sales.
Yeah, it's funny how he even ended up in sales kind of by chance or by necessity, really. He definitely wasn't this natural born closer. Right, he had to learn everything from scratch. And he even admits that he really struggled in the beginning.
But that's kind of the point, right? Even the greats had to start somewhere. And what I admire about Tracy is that he recognized his own weaknesses. He wasn't afraid to ask for help. He sought out the top salesperson in his company and really just absorbed their advice.
I think that's a huge takeaway for anyone, really. It can be hard to swallow your pride and ask for help, but sometimes that's the key to unlocking your potential. You have to be willing to admit that you don't know everything.
Totally. And for Tracy, that was a game changer. He totally embraced professional sales training. I mean, he devoured books, audio programs, seminars, anything he could get his hands on. He just became a student of the game.
And it paid off big time. His income skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show that investing in your sales education is like investing in your own success.
It's true. And he has this great saying. He says, success leaves tracks, meaning you can look at those who have already achieved what you want and follow their footsteps. It's like a blueprint.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel, right? It's about understanding the principles that drive success and applying them to your own situation.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful principles that Tracy talks about is this idea of self-concept. And you might be thinking, what does self-image have to do with selling? But he makes a really compelling argument that your income is actually a reflection of your beliefs about yourself.
So are you saying there's like an internal income thermostat that's set by our beliefs?
You could think of it that way, yeah. And if that thermostat is set low, you're basically sabotaging your own success. There's this crazy story Tracy tells about a satellite dish salesman who started making way more money than he ever thought possible.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Well, instead of being happy about it, he was totally overwhelmed with anxiety. He was literally hiding under his covers because the success felt so out of alignment with his self-concept.
Wow, that's wild. So it's like our own minds can become our biggest obstacle. If we don't believe we deserve success, we might actually push it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true for a lot of people. And these self-limiting beliefs, they often stem from this feeling of not being good enough. And that can really seep into every aspect of selling. Think about it. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you convincingly sell a product to someone else?
Yeah, you need that confidence to project credibility.
Yeah.
And it all starts with believing in yourself. But what if you're struggling with those negative beliefs? How do you actually change them?
Well, Tracy has a really simple but effective technique. Positive self-talk. It might sound a little cheesy, but repeating affirmations like, I like myself and I love my work, can actually rewire your brain for greater self-esteem and confidence.
So just saying those phrases out loud can actually make a difference.
It might seem too easy, but research actually shows that affirmations, when you practice them consistently, they can have a real impact on your subconscious mind. And that boost in confidence is key for building rapport with customers and closing deals.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk before a big game, right?
Yeah.
Getting yourself in the zone.
Exactly. And speaking of preparation, Tracy also stresses the importance of setting clear goals. Top salespeople don't just hope for success, they plan for it.
So we're talking about specific measurable goals, not just vague aspirations.
Right. He's a big advocate for setting a specific annual income goal and then breaking it down into monthly, even weekly targets. He says the act of writing down your goals programs them into your subconscious and makes them feel more tangible, more achievable.
Like setting your internal GPS for success right. You need a destination before you can chart a course.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, he tells this great story about a salesman who used visualization to improve his performance. He would close his eyes and picture himself as this top salesperson, imagining every detail of these successful interactions.
That's so interesting. It reminds me of athletes using visualization techniques to improve their game. It's all about training your mind.
Exactly. But selling isn't just about positive thinking, right? It's also about understanding what your customer actually needs. Tracy calls this a needs analysis, and he considers it the foundation of professional selling.
So instead of just launching into your product pitch, You need to take the time to uncover what your customer is struggling with.
That's it. He compares it to being a doctor of selling. You're diagnosing their problems and prescribing the perfect solution. And he suggests using open-ended questions, those starting with what, where, when, how, to encourage the customer to open up and reveal their true needs.
So instead of leading the witness, you're letting the customer guide the conversation.
It's like a detective gathering clues, right?
Yeah.
You're not making assumptions. You're actively listening, asking questions to get a clear picture of the situation.
And by taking the time to really understand their needs, you're showing the customer that you're not just there to make a sale, you're there to help them. That's how you build trust.
Exactly. But we also have to remember that selling is ultimately about persuasion, right? Convincing someone to part with their hard-earned money. And that requires appealing to both logic and emotion.
So it's not just about features and benefits, it's about connecting with the customer on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And one thing Tracy reminds us is that the fear of loss can be a more powerful motivator than the desire for gain. So when you're presenting your product or service, consider highlighting not only the positive outcomes of buying, but also the potential negative consequences of not buying.
Oh, I see. It's like painting a picture of what they stand to gain and what they risk losing.
Exactly. Sometimes a little bit of fear can be a really effective motivator, as long as it's used ethically, of course.
Right. You don't want to manipulate anyone. It's about giving them all the information they need to make an informed decision. So we've talked about the power of self-concept, setting goals, understanding customer needs. But what about the art of closing the deal? Any tips from Tracy on that front?
Oh, absolutely. But Tracy's very clear that closing starts long before you actually ask for the order. It begins with getting the prospect to say yes to listening to you in the first place.
So it's about grabbing their attention right out of the gate and making them want to hear more. But how do you actually do that?
By showcasing the value you bring. Don't just list features and benefits. Instead, try posing a question that piques their interest and highlights a problem they might have. Something like, would you be interested in a proven way to increase sales? Who's going to say no to that?
Well, that's smart. It gets them thinking about their own challenges and opens the door for you to present your solution.
Right. And Tracy introduces this really interesting concept he calls the approach close.
Approach close. I'm not familiar with that one. What is it?
It's surprisingly simple but effective. You basically tell the prospect up front that you're not there to sell them anything. Instead, you offer an exchange. You'll listen to their needs with an open mind, and in return, they give you their undivided attention.
So you're taking the pressure off, right? Creating a more collaborative environment.
Exactly. You're positioning yourself as a trusted advisor, someone who's genuinely interested in helping them.
Which makes people way more receptive. They feel like they're being heard.
And to really illustrate this idea of showcasing value, Tracy tells this great story about a Corning glass salesman. Oh yeah, what did he do?
So he walks into a prospect's office, lays down this seemingly ordinary piece of glass, and proceeds to whack it with a hammer. But here's the thing, the glass doesn't shatter. It's this incredible demonstration of the product's strength and durability.
Wow. So he's not just telling them how good the glass is, he's showing them.
Exactly. And it makes closing the deal almost effortless because the prospect has seen the value firsthand. They've experienced it with their own eyes.
It's like making the intangible tangible.
You got it. Now, all this talk about closing techniques might make you think there's one magic bullet, but Tracy is quick to point out that not all buyers are created equal. He actually identifies 5 distinct buyer types, and understanding these can be a real game changer.
Okay, so let's break down these buyer types. Who are we dealing with out there in the sales jungle?
Well, first we've got the apathetic buyer. They make up about 5% of the market, and they're tough. They lack enthusiasm, resist change, and might find a reason not to buy, even if you offer them the best deal in the world. It's best to just avoid them if you can. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for frustration.
Yeah.
So who else is out there?
Then there's the self-actualizing buyer, also about 5% of the market. These are your dream clients. They know what they want, they're decisive, and if your product fits their needs, they'll buy on the spot. No drama, just a smooth transaction.
Okay, I'll take a dozen of those, please. But that's only 10% of the buyers. Who makes up the other 90%?
The next 40% are the analytical buyers. These folks are thoughtful, detail-oriented. They need lots of information, want to weigh their options carefully, and might take a while to make a decision. Patience is key with this group.
Got it. No hard selling tactics with these folks. What about the rest?
All right, so the relator buyers make up about 25%. These individuals prioritize relationships. They need to feel comfortable with you, they value trust and connection, and they might need to consult with others before making a purchase. Building rapport is absolutely crucial with this group.
So it's less about logic and more about building that personal connection.
Exactly. If they buy from people they like and trust. And finally, we have the driver buyers, the final 25%. These are your assertive, results-oriented folks who want to see a clear return on their investment. Be direct, concise, and focus on the bottom line benefits.
The show me the numbers type.
Precisely. And here's the thing. Tracy cautions against using a one-size-fits-all approach. You need to tailor your sales style to the specific buyer type you're dealing with. Imagine using those hard closing tactics on a relator buyer who needs that personal touch. It would be a disaster.
This is so helpful. Knowing these buyer types can really help you avoid those frustrating miscommunications.
For sure. Now remember, these are just frameworks, right? In the real world, you'll find people who blend characteristics from different types. But having these categories in mind can help you read the room and adjust your approach as needed.
It's like having a cheat sheet for understanding human behavior.
Think of it as a starting point. The more experience you gain, the better you'll become at identifying buyer types and customizing your pitch. But while we're talking about these selling techniques, it's important to remember that long-term success is about more than just closing deals.
So it's not all about being a smooth-talking salesperson with a bag full of tricks.
Not at all. Tracy emphasizes that one of the most important things is to find work that you genuinely love. He says truly successful people are passionate about what they do.
That makes sense. Passion is contagious. If you're excited about what you're selling, it's bound to rub off on your customer.
Absolutely. And beyond passion, Tracy stresses the importance of continuous learning and skill development. He's a big advocate for joining industry associations, attending seminars, basically investing in your own growth. The sales world is always changing, so staying ahead of the curve is critical.
It's like that saying, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying.
Right. And this ties back to one of Tracy's key principles, the law of cause and effect.
Remind me, what's that one again?
It basically states that success leaves tracks. If you want to achieve a certain outcome, study those who have already achieved it and emulate their actions. Figure out what caused their success and replicate it.
So if I want to be a sales superstar, I need to study the habits and behaviors of other superstars.
Exactly. Learn from the best, model their strategies, and adapt them to fit your own personality and style. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just figure out what works and make it your own.
It's like having a roadmap to success, but one that you can personalize to fit your own journey.
Exactly. And one of the most valuable things you can do is seek out mentors and coaches who can guide you along the way.
Having someone who's been there and done that can be so helpful. They can offer insights you won't find in any book.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Successful people are often very generous with their time and knowledge. They understand the power of mentorship and are happy to pay it forward.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from self-concept and goal setting to understanding buyer types and the importance of finding work you love. But before we wrap up this part, I want to touch on something Tracy mentions about the best time to make a sale.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Are you ready for it?
I'm all ears.
The best time to make a sale is right after you've made a sale.
Really? Why is that?
Think about it. Right after you close a deal, your self-esteem is soaring, you're feeling like a winner, and that confidence radiates out from you, making you even more persuasive with your next prospect.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a positive feedback loop. Success breeds more success.
Exactly. And it all ties back to the power of self-concept. When you feel good about yourself, you perform at your best. So ride that wave of success and use it to fuel your next win.
I love that. It's like a reminder that we have so much power to create our own success by focusing on our mindset and building our confidence.
That's the key takeaway. Sales is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned and mastered. The more you practice, the better you'll become. And the more you believe in yourself, the more you'll achieve.
It's a message of hope and possibility for anyone who wants to excel in sales.
And it's a message backed by real psychological principles. Brian Tracy isn't just sharing opinions, he's drawing on decades of experience and research to offer practical strategies for success.
It's like he's handing us the keys to the kingdom. But with so many valuable insights, it can be hard to know where to start. Where do we go from here?
I'd say start by focusing on your strengths. Identify the areas where you're already doing well and double down on developing those skills. Play to your strengths and become the best version of yourself.
So recognize your unique talents and leverage them to achieve your goals.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. The world of sales is constantly evolving, so flexibility and adaptability are key.
The only constant is change, right?
You got it. And the more adaptable you are, the more successful you'll be. Now we've only scratched the surface of what Brian Tracy covers in The Psychology of Selling. There's so much more to explore.
I can't wait to dive even deeper. What's next on our agenda?
Well, in the next part, we'll be getting into Tracy's insights on crafting a killer sales presentation, handling objections like a pro, and really mastering the art of closing.
Sounds good to me. I'm hooked.
Great. Stick around. It's going to get even more interesting.
I'm ready. Okay, so we left off talking about those buyer types, and I gotta say that was really eye-opening stuff. But how do we take all this knowledge and actually put it into practice? Like when we're crafting a sales presentation, how do we make it really resonate with the customer?
Well, that's where the magic happens, right? Tracy has a lot to say about this, and one of the things he emphasizes is that a good sales presentation is like a story. It needs a strong opening to hook the prospect's attention from the very beginning.
That makes sense. You can't just launch into all the technical details. You got to grab their interest first.
Right. And here's the thing. You need to focus on results and benefits, not just features. Remember, customers care about what your product or service can do for them, not necessarily how it works.
It's like showing them the after picture, right? Paint a picture of how their life will be better after they buy from you.
Perfect analogy. And that's where the needs analysis comes in. You have to do your homework, understand what the customer is really looking for.
So no more generic presentations. It's all about tailoring each one to the individual customer.
Exactly. Tracy talks about asking logical, well-organized questions to uncover those needs. He even says that the more questions you ask, the more professional and credible you appear.
It's like being a detective gathering clues to solve their problem. The more you understand their situation, the better you can position your product as the solution.
Love that. But remember, even with all the logic and evidence in the world, people ultimately buy based on emotions. You got to appeal to their heart as well as their head.
Find that sweet spot where logic and emotion intersect right. Make them feel something, not just think something.
You got it. And here's another gem from Tracy. The fear of loss is often a more powerful motivator than the desire for gain. So when you're putting together your presentation, think about highlighting not just the positive outcomes of buying, but also the potential downsides of not buying.
Play to that fear of missing out, right? Nobody wants to be left behind or regret their decision.
Exactly. But of course, use this ethically. Don't create false urgency or pressure the customer.
Right. Build trust, don't break it. Okay, so even with the best presentation, you're going to encounter objections. That's just part of the game.
It's inevitable. But Tracy suggests handling those objections with calmness and confidence. Listen attentively, acknowledge their concerns, and then provide clear, concise answers.
So don't get defensive. Show empathy and understanding.
Right. And sometimes the best way to overcome an objection is to turn it into a question. So if they say, it's too expensive, you might respond with, compared to what? This forces them to articulate their reasoning and gives you an opportunity to justify your price.
Well, that's interesting. You're taking control of the conversation and making them really think about their objection.
Exactly. And when it comes to price objections, Tracy really stresses the importance of focusing on value, not cost. Highlight the long-term benefits and return on investment rather than just the upfront price.
Shift the perspective from how much does it cost to how much is it worth.
You got it. And to back up your claims, use testimonials and case studies. Social proof is incredibly powerful. It shows prospects that others have already benefited from your product or service.
It's like having a whole chorus of satisfied customers singing your praises.
That's the idea. Tracy even suggests putting together a binder of testimonials and highlighting the most impactful sentences. It gives you tangible evidence to support your claims.
It's about showing, not just telling. People are more likely to believe what others say about you than what you say about yourself.
Absolutely. And throughout this whole process, Tracy emphasizes maintaining a positive mindset. He even suggests using affirmations like, I am a great salesperson and this is going to be a great call to boost your confidence.
To pump yourself up before you even walk into the meeting.
Exactly. It's about creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're going to succeed, you're more likely to take the actions that lead to success.
I'm seeing a theme here. It's about aligning your mindset with your desired outcome.
And that brings us to the culmination of all this preparation, closing the deal.
All right, give me the secrets to closing like a pro. Lay it on me.
Okay, well, first of all, Tracy emphasizes that closing should be a natural progression of the sales process, not some high-pressure tactic.
Mhm.
It's about guiding the customer towards a decision, not forcing it upon them.
So no more cheesy closing lines or manipulative techniques.
Yeah.
It's about building trust and rapport.
Exactly. And he suggests using what he calls trial closes throughout your presentation to gauge their interest.
Trial close was that.
It's basically a subtle way of asking for the order without actually asking. For example, you might say, would you prefer the standard package or the deluxe package? You're assuming they're already leaning towards buying and just need to choose between options.
Like planting a seed without being too pushy.
Exactly. And if they respond positively to the trial close, you can move towards a more direct close.
So what are some effective closing techniques?
Tracy has a whole arsenal, but one of the most powerful is the alternative close, which is similar to the trial close. You basically offer them a choice between two options, both of which lead to a sale.
So you give them a sense of control, but you're still steering them towards a decision.
Exactly. You might say something like, would you like to sign the contract today, or would you prefer to review it with your team and finalize it tomorrow? Either way, you're moving closer to the close.
This is making a lot of sense. It's not about being a slick closer. It's about being a trusted advisor.
I like that. Closing is about helping the customer make the best decision, not about tricking them into something they don't want.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those customers who just can't seem to make a decision? The ones who always want to think it over?
Tracy actually says that people rarely actually think it over. Once you leave, they get distracted by other things, and your product fades from memory.
So strike while the iron's hot. Create a sense of urgency.
Exactly. He calls this the urgency close. It could involve highlighting a limited time offer, a special bonus, or even just the potential risk of missing out if they don't act now.
Give it a little nudge.
But again, always be ethical. Don't pressure them into something they're not ready for.
Right, we want to build trust, not break it. It sounds like closing is really just the beginning, not the end goal.
That's a great point. After the sale, it's crucial to follow up, provide excellent service, and nurture that relationship for future sales.
It's about building partnerships, not just making a quick sale.
You got it. And that's what truly successful salespeople understand. Selling is a process, not an event. It's about building relationships, solving problems, and adding value.
I love that. It's not just about making money. It's about making a difference.
Now you're getting it. And that's the kind of mindset that leads to long-term success and fulfillment.
I'm definitely feeling inspired.
That's what we like to hear. But keep in mind, we've just scratched the surface here. Tracy's book is packed with valuable insights. I definitely recommend checking it out.
Oh, I will, for sure. This has been so helpful. Can't wait for the last part. What else is coming up?
In the final part, we'll be diving into Tracy's insights on achieving long-term success in sales. We'll be talking about finding your natural talents, continually developing your skills, and the importance of building a solid character.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling. We've covered so much ground already, from mindset and goals to closing techniques and handling objections. What I'm curious about now is, how do we take all this and actually build a truly successful long-term career in sales? What separates the good from the great in the long run? That's the big question, isn't it? And I think Tracy really hits the nail on the head in this last part of the book. He goes beyond just the tactics and really gets to the core of what it takes to not only survive but thrive in sales over the long haul. And he starts with a surprisingly simple idea. Find work you genuinely love.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense on a basic level. When you're passionate about what you do,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like work. But how does that actually play out in a sales career?
Well, Tracy believes it's fundamental. He even goes so far as to say that if you don't find yourself thinking about your work, even when you're not working, you might be in the wrong field. Your work should be an extension of who you are, not just a way to earn a paycheck.
That's a pretty bold statement. So it's not just about finding any job in sales. It's about finding your niche, something that really speaks to your talents and your passions.
Exactly. When you find that alignment, it unlocks a whole new level of motivation and drive. Think about it. When you're genuinely excited about what you're selling, that enthusiasm is contagious. It rubs off on your customers and makes you so much more effective.
It's like that saying, find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But how do you even figure out what that is? What if you're not sure where your passions lie?
Tracy says, pay attention to what energizes you. What do you enjoy doing? What comes easily to you? What are you naturally good at? Those are all clues.
So look for those areas where you experience that sense of flow, that effortless absorption in what you're doing.
Exactly. And once you've found it, commit to becoming the best at it. Tracy challenges salespeople to aim for the top 10% in their field.
So it's not just about finding your passion, it's about developing it. It takes dedication, discipline, and a real commitment to learning and growth.
Absolutely. Excellence doesn't just happen. Tracy suggests a bunch of different ways to develop your skills, like joining industry associations, attending seminars and workshops, reading as much as you can, and finding mentors who can guide you.
It's like building your own personal curriculum for success.
I like that. And don't underestimate the power of observation. Tracy encourages salespeople to study those who are already crushing it. What are they doing differently? What strategies are they using? You can learn so much just by paying attention.
Right. Find role models and learn from the best.
Yeah.
And we talked about mentorship before. Having someone to guide you can make such a huge difference.
It's invaluable. A mentor can help you navigate challenges, stay on track, and avoid making common mistakes.
So we've got our passion, we're committed to excellence, and we're actively learning and growing. What else does Tracy emphasize for long-term success in sales?
Okay, this might sound a little unexpected, but he's a big believer in character. He says integrity is absolutely essential for lasting success.
Wait, so it's not just about being good at sales, it's about being a good person.
Exactly. Tracy believes that trust and credibility are the foundation of strong customer relationships, and those relationships are everything in sales.
Yeah, people buy from people they like and trust. You can have all the sales techniques in the world, but if you're not a good person, it's going to show eventually.
You're so right. To build trust, you need to be honest, ethical, and always keep your word. Do the right thing even when it's tough, even when nobody's watching.
So it's about building a reputation based on who you are, not just what you sell.
Exactly. And Tracy also talks about the importance of being true to yourself. He even quotes Shakespeare saying, "To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night, the day thou canst not then be false to any man."
Wow, I love that. Authenticity is key. People can sense when someone is being fake.
Absolutely. And when you're genuine, when you're living in alignment with your values, it creates this sense of confidence and integrity that attracts customers.
This is all great, but it can also feel a bit overwhelming. Finding your passion, developing your skills, building your character, it's a lot. Where do you even start?
Tracy's advice is to start with your core values. Who are you at your core? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Make sure your actions are in line with those values.
Create a personal code of conduct that guides your decisions.
Exactly. When you have that strong internal compass, it's much easier to navigate those tricky situations and stay true to yourself.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of what it really takes to succeed in sales, not just to close deals, but to build a truly fulfilling career.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is just a taste of what Brian Tracy covers in The Psychology of Selling. I highly recommend picking up the book and diving in even deeper.
I'm definitely adding it to my reading list.
Right.
This deep dive has been a game changer for me. Thank you so much for walking us through Tracy's work and for sharing your insights.
It was my pleasure. Remember, selling is more than just a job. It's a skill, it's a craft, it's an art. Embrace the challenge, enjoy the journey, and never stop learning.
And to our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the psychology of selling. We hope you found it valuable. Remember, you have the potential to achieve incredible things. Believe in yourself, stay focused, and never give up on your dreams.
And until next time, keep those sales goals high and keep pushing yourself to grow. We'll see you on the next deep dive.